Welcome to the Shout Out with Sage show. Shout Out with Sage.
Shout me out.
And that's all I gotta say. So shout out and let's go.
Hi everyone. I am Sage Stevens, the host of Shout Out with Sage. Welcome to Streaminn HUBB Radio. And today my guest is a comedian. He performs throughout the US and especially here in LA at the Comedy Chateau, at Hollywood Improv, at the Laugh Factory, and many other places. I want to welcome today to Shout Out with Sage, Black Pedro. Hey, how are you?
Hey, Sage, how are you? I'm great. Thank you for having me, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you for coming back. This is round 2. So
let's go.
So let's go. Yeah, on this segment with comedians, it's a little more just impromptu, not like a formal interview.
What?
We just sort of talk about
impromptu with comedians. What? I'm very regimented. I need a schedule and a script.
Really? I didn't send you the script. I'm sorry.
No, we're good.
Forgot about that. So did you wake up early this morning with the earthquakes?
I totally missed that. I've only had one earthquake ever wake me up. I'm a pretty heavy sleeper, so I didn't feel any. I didn't even. I'm oblivious, girl. I was probably too drunk to notice.
Too drunk. You were still out. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, last night I was home earlier than usual. So.
Awesome.
So I actually was asleep. I think there was like this swarm of earthquakes. They said there was like 4 of them, and I did some research, and they were saying that what I read was that when you have a swarm like that, that's like that a big one's coming.
Oh no! It's
like it could be like
a harbinger of disaster.
Definitely. So are you prepared for an earthquake?
Well, I have like a little go bag that's got, some supplies and stuff in it if I, ever need to jump or get out of here or whatever. But other than that, I really don't know. Like the most powerful earthquake I've ever felt was like maybe like 6-7 years ago. And it literally felt like somebody just came to my bed while I was sleeping and was like, wake up, you know what I mean? Like, it was like I was just like, and it lasted for like 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if that had lasted like 15 more seconds, this house would have fell down, like it was rough. And so I'm like, I don't really know what to do in an earthquake, like kiss my ass goodbye. I don't know. Cause like, if everything starts shaking like that, just surviving, I guess, would be the key part. And then, we'll get into the aftermath and start forming, factions and camps and tribes as we try and, burn meat. Yeah, right. Exactly. Get into, kick people off the island, that kind of thing.
Okay. And then see who mates with who and who hooks up
you have
with
to
who.
You have to test people for skills. Like, can you trap fur? Can you do that, Sage? Do you know
actually
what berries to eat?
I did grow up in Canada, so I might not look like I'm a wilderness girl, but
cheers, girl. You're already on the team. I'm a native Detroiter. We're neighbors. Canada was right there. Right. I know you. Canadian chicks are tough.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
They have to ice skate to school and everything. It's crazy. So
exactly. People here in LA. Sometimes I'm like, do you really know? Like, do you really want to talk to me like that? Especially on the red carpets when you're dealing with certain individuals. I won't name any of them.
Gotcha.
But I'm like, really? You're going to give me this attitude? That is your choice. That's your choice. Actually, that brings me to, I was actually at an event recently, just before Christmas. And I had sort of forgotten about it. I had been to it last year and a friend had invited me. They were getting a table, whatever. So I go to this event and, I get there late because as I said, I sort of forgot about it. My friend invited me to join their table. So I show up and I run into this man there and I guess he had given people gifts, for the gift bags and stuff like that. And so another friend introduced me to him. They said, oh, she has a talk show, blah, 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 blah. And it was a red light. It was a red light face thing. And I totally believe in red light. I don't know if you know about it. We'll talk about that later. But
Okay.
it just really helps with pain, with your nerves, if you're having certain conditions. Like I'm a big believer in it.
Okay.
And so he said, "Oh, would you like to have this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, for sure. I would love to have that." And I'll totally talk about it and, give you, I'll talk about it on my social media and all that. And he's like, "Okay, here you go." And then this woman came up to me and she proceeded to sort of make a scene. And it was totally uncalled for. Like, if you were having an issue with me, you should have called me to the side and we can talk about it professionally. And then, we had the little incident, and then I thought it had sort of passed. And then a couple days later, we had another event and I ran into her again. And again, she came up to me at this event like days later and made another scene. And then my friends were like, they said, "Oh, don't worry about it. She's, they told me some information about her that wasn't very, she'd been arrested, blah, blah, stuff like that." Won't get into
She
the
had a
details of
history.
that. Right. Because I don't want to do that. But my point is, though, but then I'm like, well, is that real? Like, is that a rumor? Especially in LA, a lot of people talk, things about people. And then I was like, "Oh, well, my friends are coming to defend me and that's awesome of them. And then I have this information that I can, potentially use against this person." But then I'm like, but is it true?
Right.
Then I started to think about, like, is it true? Because I know people, I know there's people saying things about me and those things aren't true. So how do you feel about rumors and just taking, how do you deal with something when someone attacks you and then you have information about that? Do you use it against them? Take the higher road? Let it go? What's your
So yeah, we had a guest on our on my podcast, by the way. I have a YouTube show, Savage AF, on YouTube. If you just look that up, me and my comedy brother Shang, we're on Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But not even last year, in 2021, actually, we had a guest on, another comedian. I won't say any names either, just because I don't like to give it too much energy. But
yeah.
it was a bad interaction on on a live stream, right? You know what I mean? This person was a Trump supporter, a 2-time Trump supporter, and things went back and forth. And then I got some information later that this guy was going to be on a mission to, quote unquote, destroy me. And I'm like, I didn't know I was on a soap opera all of a sudden. Like, it's turned into Days of Our Lives. Like, I'm going to destroy you. Like, that's pretty dramatic. So, and I would even go to other cities and they'd be like, "Yes, so was just here and was talking about he's going to destroy you." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" But then I got some information that this person has some, mental issues, which seemed evident by I'm going to judge a person by their actions. And, when we were done interacting, I was like, "Oh, he's crazy." And then when I hear later stuff, that I don't have verified medical paperwork to verify, but based on his actions, these explanations make sense. So since then, I've just decided to pocket that card and take that information and know that I shouldn't be arguing with crazy people, right? Because from a distance, nobody can tell who's who. So you just don't argue with crazy people. So I give it no energy. When you see that somebody's unstable, I literally try to avoid them. So that's what I do. But as far as rumors go, I try and judge people based on their actions, because over time, that'll be, I think, your truest way to judge a person. But sometimes you can corroborate rumors with actions and say, "Oh, okay. Well, if that's not true, then their behavior doesn't make sense. But if that's true, then it makes sense why they're acting this way." So
with your comment about actions and judging people by their actions, Does that go to your dating as well? Because dating life in LA can always be interesting.
Yeah. My last my last hookup, I'll just say, I didn't realize she was homeless at the time, but I ended up having to kick this girl out of my house because she she woke up the next morning and was like, "Do you mind if I crash here?" I'm like, "Hell no, I'm gonna crash your ass out this window. You better get out of my." It was like the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And then she would keep calling, like she tried to colonize my couch for 2 hours. Like she just wouldn't leave.
Oh
And
my God.
and she was white. So to be honest, Sage, I couldn't call the cops. I couldn't call the cops. They're gonna kill me in my place. You're not gonna catch me black while paying rent. So I was like, no. So it took a lot of talking down to get her out of my house. And yeah, since then I have not. This is obviously psycho behavior, like irrational adult behavior, to think that upon meeting a man the next day he's gonna let you crash because you don't feel comfortable. She's like, I don't feel comfortable staying where I am right now. I'm like, listen.
That's not my issue.
I don't know what this is. So, yes, definitely in dating, judge people by their actions. Because people, when we meet each other, they're going to talk good. They're going to put their best foot forward.
You put the mask on and your best facade.
It's the shined up resume, right? And rather than saying you're a janitor, you're going to call yourself a waste management engineer. You know what I mean? It's just a way to spice that up. So, you got to give people time to prove themselves. Or sometimes, in this case, right away, she showed me the crazy, and I was like, bye, goodbye, And so, yeah, definitely in dating, I judge people by their actions, like absolutely, way more than what they say. Because I was in a relationship too where my ex-fiance showered me with a lot of verbal affirmations, I love yous and things like that, but wasn't doing the things that I would have liked to see her do. You know what I mean? So at some point, it's like, I know you love me. Shut up. Like, set a date so we can get married. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I've dated people like that as well. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do that. Oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And then you're like, the list starts adding up. And then after a while, you're like, you still haven't done anything. So,
yeah, that phrase "going to," those two words together, so meaningless. It's like, you set those intentions for yourself, but saying it out loud really doesn't mean anything. Action is really what it is. So
actually, you're not the first person who's mentioned that they had to kick someone out of their house. I was out with some girlfriends. It was a girl, and she said a guy did the same thing to her. Like, he basically wasn't going to leave her house, and she had to finally just grab his stuff and they dated like once or twice. I think it was like the second date. He came over to her house and he just wasn't going to leave. So that's crazy.
And I know now why ladies don't. Typically it's not a good idea to let some new man know exactly where you live and all of this stuff. It's a lot of crazies out there, but the reverse situation, I can empathize with you ladies now because, I felt totally helpless. I'm like, how do I get this woman out of my, I literally don't want the cops to show up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just flat. I don't want to be around the cops. And then, and she's not leaving. So, and, I'm not a guy who's ever going to get physical with a woman. So I don't have many more options. I had to say things to her like, my mother would be appalled if I behaved like this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to guilt her. Like, I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, how are you acting like this?
Did the guilt work? Did you finally get her to leave your apartment?
You know what hit it? Because she was like lethargic and non-responsive, and she wasn't explaining anything. She was just like trying to convince me to let her stay there. And eventually I was just like, are you rich? Because this is the most privileged shit that's ever happened to me, right? Like, it just dawned on me, like, I've never seen anybody, like, if I went to somebody's house and refused to leave, even at 45 years old, my mother would slap me up and down the house. Like, what is wrong with you? You know what I mean? You don't do that in somebody's house. Right. And so I was just like, are you rich? Like, did you grow up rich? Does your family have money or something? Like, and she was just like, that was her quickest response. She was like, why would that matter? And she, she got a little affect to it. And I was like, yeah, I see what it is. I'm dealing with some kind of weird privileged situation. And I don't know. Maybe she's estranged from her family. I don't know. I didn't know this chick, but
what other,
that finally got her out of the house. Was like, she got offended by that. And I was like, okay.
What other dating stories? What other dating stories do we have to share? I don't understand how guys who can't even take you out on a real date, like they can't even ask you out for dinner, like, and then they want you to send them like nude pics or scandalous pics. I don't get it. Like, can you explain that to me? Or they're just
like I said, I'm a man of a certain age, so I don't come from that place either where like we weren't sending Polaroids of our penises around in the mail, trying to get girls or whatever. So I think, these younger, newer generations, they're just in a space of instant gratification. Now, if we're not having sex, then what are we doing? Kind of thing. And, everybody's moving pretty fast when it comes to dating. So, I don't either. I'm pretty traditional, and maybe that's why I'm still single, because I'm still holding doors open and, going on what you call a real date.
Don't lose that, because some of us appreciate those things. So
and it's part of the way I was raised. And like I said, I was raised by a single mother. So, I'm a guy. I can be a dummy in a relationship, but for the most part, I come from a place of trying to be respectful to women. Because it's just,
I just don't understand. Like, actually this morning, this person, sent me a picture, and I'm like, are you serious?
Okay.
I mean, we haven't even, like, we've met up, like we've hung out, but it's like, we haven't even gone on a date, like a real date. And then he's like, oh, well, send me one back. And I'm like, I'm not sending you anything back. Like, are you crazy?
You got to meet somebody's mother. You got to meet somebody's mother before you send them nudes. I'm a traditional guy.
Yeah, I don't know if he necessarily wanted a nude, but like he wanted some sexy pic. And I'm like, I don't understand. You just send them to your website. All the pictures are sexy. Yeah, well, yeah, I think he wanted it. Well, that's what I tell people. This is the other thing that's funny. They're like, I get these guys who are like, oh, send me a picture. I'm like, just go to my Instagram or my Facebook. There's tons for you there. Just like, no, I want one of my own. I'm like, no, thank you.
Well, you could get creative though. It's sexy doesn't always have to be about sex. Like, you could show him your beer opening skills, and be like, see, you know what I mean? And maybe he'd be,
I guess.
Totally joking. No. So let me ask an honest question though. So it's obviously weird and indecent and it wasn't, proper for him to say, send that pic. But is there part of you that are you just completely offended by the action? But do you also look at the pic and go, oh, not bad? Or
well, I know him, and like we have gone, hung out a couple times. So it's not like I'm offended because like obviously I find him attractive, but it's just that, and it's fine that if you choose to send like a sexy pic, that's fine. But like my thing is when they ask for one back,
right.
And it's I mean, could you take me out on a date first? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm old fashioned. I just you're not, I don't mind, but it's like, are you my husband? Are you my boyfriend? Are you like in a serious relationship? And the other thing is, especially nowadays, your phone's going to get hacked or someone's going to end up with that picture and I don't know where it's going. And well, it sort of goes down to the trust. Like I haven't even gone out with you. Like you haven't even shown me that. And you want me to send you this picture. To me, that's like a big trust thing. Like,
no, that makes sense.
You're not going to show that to everyone. And I don't know where it's going to end up. And especially just recently, my Facebook account and my Instagram account, they got hacked. I was kicked off for a while and then I had to do all this work to get them back. And then when I went on the person that hacked my account had actually sent like, porn out to people, because like they'll let you, like, on, not on Instagram, but on Facebook, they actually let me see, like, because once you get your account back, they go through what was posted that got you kicked off to begin with. And then you say, yes, this was me, or no, that wasn't me. So
Gotcha.
I had to go through all these posts and say, no, that wasn't mine. No, that wasn't mine. And then so I got to see what the person posted. And I'm like, and the other thing is, like, my thing is Facebook should have known it wasn't me, because I've never posted anything like that before. I've never sent those type of messages before. So they not only suspended my account, they suspended my account, and then they did give it back to me. But once it got back to me, I couldn't message anyone, or I couldn't post anything. I just had access to the account. And so I still was blocked for someone else's actions. Like, I didn't send this to anyone. I didn't do any of this. And I also had to send them a selfie to get my account back. And then I'm like, well, they have my pictures. Facebook has my pictures anyway. So I guess I shouldn't be too worried about sending them a selfie. But whatever. It's like, I had to do a lot of work to get the account back. So.
Yeah, I've been in YouTube jail before. And their process is frustrating. One time we were vindicated, and then the second time they actually shut us down for like a week. And I was just like, what did I say? And they weren't specific about that. So
that's the other thing. Yeah, like on Instagram and Facebook, when they first took my account away, they didn't tell you what you did. Like you don't know what you did. Yeah.
And somebody complains, I guess, and then you just shut it down. And I'm like, well, that doesn't seem like a fair process. I'm like, what kind of investigation did you do? Because the first time we were vindicated, but we were still shut down for a couple of days. And I'm like, well, you're admitting that nothing was done wrong. So then why were we taken down in the first place? You obviously didn't do any investigation before you shut us down. So, that process, I don't think is fair, and we always suspect that it's like one of these, like we have a couple trolls that, pop up. And one of them is that former guest that I talked about earlier. And we're like, this dude is doing this again, man. Look.
Well, all you have to do is report the person. And then like, you just have to press the little button and say, I'm offended. And then you're going to go to, YouTube jail, Facebook jail, Instagram jail, whatever. And then you're suspended, or you can't use it for a while. So there should be a better way. You should be able to defend yourself a little bit better. So
absolutely. But speaking of trust, and between, especially in a relationship, mine has been shaken to the core now. And now, ladies, I know the golden rule, like, don't let a man know where you live, on the first date, but that's actually a requirement of mine. Like, I'm going to have to see that you have an apartment that you feel safe going to the next day. I don't need to know where it is, but you bring me a couple of bills. You know what I mean? Like,
a utility bill.
Yeah, a utility bill is all I need to see. Just something that says that you are a resident outside of my apartment. You know what I mean? Like, because this was like, I had no indication. I met her at a bar. Bars, they required an ID. IDs have address. It's just nothing about this girl said homeless to me. And then she's like, can I crash at your place? I'm like, oh, Lord.
Well, this is the problem, though, because I don't bring people back to my place either. So, and if you don't, like, I guess we'll have to get hotels. I mean, how do you?
Well, I'm a guy. So, we're generally not worried about safety and things like that. And I've never had anything like that happen to me. So it was just like wait, is this a thing? Are there like semi-homeless chicks just hanging out at bars trying to shack up for the night to find
You are
a new
not
roommate?
the first person to mention this to me. I think it's hilarious. Okay. Like, and it's happening both to men and to women. Like, now with the homeless problem, I guess in LA, there's a lot of people. Well, and speaking of that, I guess in LA, we do have the extension now of the COVID moratorium for anybody in LA, in the city of LA or the county of LA. The moratorium has been extended till
the rent moratorium.
Yes, for another 2 months. So
that's great. Yeah, use that before you use my couch. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that. Like, fill out the paperwork or whatever. But Black Pedro's apartment is not your shelter, ladies. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that right now. But the rent moratorium, I think, is important. People have their feelings about socialism or whatever, but we have social programs that historically have been proven to work: Social Security, Medicare, things like that,
Fire
and
department.
fire department. Yeah, exactly. So. It's about how we apply them. And in a situation in which a global pandemic put a lot of people in financially precarious situations, our government, I think we proved in that time that we do have money, right? We're sending billions to the Ukraine, and I'm not against that, but I'm like, I know we have the money to do both. We can help Ukraine and Skid Row and Detroit and Chicago and New York. You know what I mean? Like, we have this money. How are we going to allocate it? And I'm happy to live in a city that has leadership that is of this mindset. Like,
well,
realizes
the homeless crisis is, it's big in LA. And if you I think I read somewhere where if they had have ended the moratorium, there's 226,000 households that would have been affected. So we're going to add those people to the streets? I mean, and especially now in LA, my friend, he lives over on La Brea, and I was over, we had a little get together with some people. I was at his place, and it's like La Brea and like Willoughby or something like that. And on the side street, there's a whole encampment. And he said, come here. And so we went out onto his balcony, and there's all these eggshells. And and he's like high up. It's not like he's down below. It's not on the ground level. And they would like be throwing eggs up and over onto his balcony.
Oh, wow.
And break-ins and, tons of stuff. So, I mean, I'm not against, like I would help, the homeless guy there was a homeless person on my street would, give him food and like help out. Or one night there was a bunch of yelling. So I went out to make sure, what was going on.
Right.
My other friends are like, stay in your house.
Yeah, stay inside,
no,
girl.
I mean, I don't know. It's just how I am. I'm like, I want to.
You're turned into a woman in a horror movie. Like, what's that noise? Get your ass on the couch.
Yeah, I'm that person. No, but I just like, and actually there was a fire. It ended up there was a fire, so we had to call 911, and so I am glad I went out because it
was just.
But the homeless. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but they need to do something. And I think with the COVID moratorium, that's a good thing because we can't have any more homeless people. But I mean, I don't know.
So our new mayor, who was my former congressional representative, Karen Bass, one of the first things she did upon her stepping into the mayoral position was to declare a state of emergency,
right?
Which brings certain funds and other resources to the city, and a state of emergency. Sorry, specifically around homelessness.
Homelessness, right?
Yeah, correct. And she is. I think she's working on trying to implement funds towards creating housing, and creating more low-income housing or affordable housing within the new construction, as well as trying to refurbish existing vacant.
There's tons of old warehouses and
vacancies
old buildings
and all kind of things.
There's tons of stuff downtown. Like, and I know, in Canada, actually, for the homelessness, especially when it gets really cold, they have to. I mean, like, people will freeze to death. So they actually would take old hotels and let people stay there and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, but then you get into like who's paying for that, and then there's maintenance, and I mean, I get it. I know there's a lot of things, but yeah, I mean, it's just something that in LA we need to rectify. So
yes, we have the money out there, and for those who we can't keep spending like this. Well, we also can't afford to let billionaires and multi-billion-dollar corporations go without paying anything at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let alone their
Because they
fair
have
share.
smart accountants
Yeah, and we have
and
tax laws
offshore
that allow for.
accounts.
Yeah, and
Yes.
we have some tax laws that you know, depending on who's in office, that allow for such things. But you know, there is money there to do all of these things. And
Right.
if we claim to be the richest nation and the largest economy, then it's got to show on all levels, right? You can't have people living up in the clouds and then most of the population in the
Yes.
sewers.
Definitely
That's
not.
not a rich nation. So
No.
yeah. But if you are a homeless woman who is hot, you stay the hell away from me. You understand me? All you hot ass
Wait,
homeless women out there.
I'm gonna send everyone to you, and you say, "Oh, you need to go out on a date with him." But with all that, where are you performing? Where are you performing this week or
Yes.
next week?
So yeah, this Sunday actually, if you're in the SoCal area, I'll be at San Diego's newest club. It's called Mic Drop. They have 2 great rooms. I believe it's an 8 o'clock show. So that's this Sunday, the whatever the date is, the 29th. And then next week, I think it's the 3rd or the 4th, I'll be at the Comedy Chateau, which is one you mentioned earlier in North Hollywood. So that's why it's very important to follow me on Instagram. You see it right here in the corner. On IG at Black Pedro, and I tend to post about my shows. Follow me. I like to follow back, and let's keep in touch, everybody. And then you can know when I'm in your town.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on Shout Out with Sage, Streaminn HUBB Radio. Thank you so much. And I guess I will see you out and about, and good luck with dating.
Yeah. Again, ladies, I'm going to need to see some ID and 2 utility bills. Okay. The utility bills, established address. That's all I need.
Very good. Very good.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Sage. Yep.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.